how you can get better information and make better decisions using that information very easily with Sage Intelligence. Now, this is just a quick agenda of what we're going to be covering. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what is Sage Intelligence reporting. I'm going to go through a few slides to just give you a nice background overview on our standard reports. What are the reports that come with Sage Intelligence? And then I'm going to walk through all of the components of Sage Intelligence. It's very a robust system, and so there's a lot of things, a lot of different components and different things you can do with each component. Now, after that, I'm going to go through the demonstration and show you how to use Sage Intelligence. And at the very end, we have some links, of course, for you that you can use for additional learning on Sage Intelligence. All right. So first of all, I want to just give an explanation of what it is. What are we going to be looking at with Sage Intelligence? It is an Excel-based reporting tool. Of course, it's compatible. You see there on the screen on the 100, 300, and 500 systems. And if you look in the drawing there, or the picture on the right, you'll see Sage Intelligence Report Manager, which I'll go into more detail, but that's the main interface, the report manager. That's where you'll run all of the reports out. They open up into Microsoft Excel. That's why we say it's Excel-based reporting tool. So you can use all your existing Excel skills using Sage Intelligence. So all the reports are run out into Microsoft Excel. We've already made a connection to your Sage system. All right, so it connects to your Sage 100, 300, or 500. And we have ready to use reports already in Report Manager for you to just select the run button and run out into Microsoft Excel. Now, we have these reports, even financial layouts for you to use, but know that you can create your own. You can design your own financial reports using one of the modules. It's the Financial Report Designer, and I'm going to demonstrate that in a few minutes. But know that you can design your financial reports using Sage Intelligence functionality as well as Microsoft Excel functionality. So those of you on the line that have always wanted to use your Excel skills and to create these fabulous reports, you can. Know that you can customize, or you can create new reports and customize those. Now, the bullet point that I just clicked on, it says create new reports from other sources. What that means to you is using Sage Intelligence and one of the modules that we have available, I'll talk a little bit more in detail about it in a minute, you can create reports from other sources, let's say additional tables within your Sage solution. Maybe you have Sage Fixed Assets or some other Sage product that you also use with your 100, 300, or 500. You can know that you can create a report, you can make a connection into those applications and create a special report from there. And of course, BrainSell will help you with all of this. So you'll need to check with them on being able to do that. And finally, collaboration is so important, and that's the name of the game in reporting. So with Sage Intelligence, know that you can distribute any and all of the reports using email, using maybe sending to a file, sending to as an HTML to a website. You can send the report to anyone. You can also set it up so that all reports, any of the reports, are auto-distributed to any email or to a file that you'd like. So you can have reports specific to users that you can send to either groups or individuals, and you can set that up automatically. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the existing reports and the layouts that we have that will open up within Microsoft Excel. So this is our standard reports list. What this means is that you will have within your 100 or 300 system or 500 system, you'll have Report Manager. And it just needs activated. And check with Kelly and her team on activating the Report Manager if you don't already have it activated. But that means you get these reports: the dashboard analysis, financial trend analysis, GL transaction detail, a sales report, a purchase report, and an inventory report. Now you do need the Financial Report Designer for any of the reports we've built that are financial, say those income statements, the balance sheets, trial balance, those kind of things. But these are all standard reports, and that means that we've built them. and you can just run them out, and it pulls your data into Excel, into the reports, and these are all standard. But it's important to know that you can customize, you can change your reports, you can change them, you can have BrainSell change them. And that means that when you customize them, so let me click to the next slide, you can use either your skills within Microsoft Excel, so you can see that bottom picture shows a pivot table. You can just click into the pivot table and add additional fields, or you can create a chart or graph or something like that. You can use the task pane within the report designer to make changes to your report as well. So know that all reports run into Microsoft Excel, but you can make changes to them and save those changes so that every time you run the report out, it has that change that you need. No more copying and pasting and redoing the report every month. Once you save it, it's ready to go. So here are the options to use within the financial report designer. And the first one on the screen, it's called our layout generator. And this layout generator just means that you can point and click very easily to set up all of the columns at the top here that you want to set up, your actual budget, etc. You can set all your columns up and then all your rows down the left-hand side. So you see we have one here for our income statement. And then you can design it the way you need to design it. Now we also have the ability, this is our row set window, and it's activated from this tab here, the row sets. So you can use account category, account group, you can use ranges, you can set different row sets up so that you have one income statement showing a set of rows by category, another income statement showing a row set by group, etc., or range even. So there's lots of flexibility in how you see your information. Now the task pane is most popular. And if you notice on the screen, that's again the report, the financial report designer opened up, and I've got encircled our task pane, where there you can use the task pane to create your report from scratch. Okay, and the next slide will show a little bit more detail. So this is where you can customize using this task pane within Microsoft Excel. So if you look to the right, you can see where we're currently on our layouts. We're in our layouts tab, and these are some layouts that we've built that you can just click on and run out, and it'll show within your Excel report. But if I click, there's our list. So you have all of your, this happens to be the list of accounts, natural accounts, groups, etc. in Sage 500, but 100 will look, and 300, they look very, very similar. Okay, but this is where you'll have your list, where you can drag your list onto your sheet. You can then set up your formula. The formulas, of course, will bring in your values here. Very easy to set up formulas, and you can look at your segmentation in a tree format if you have your accounts segmented. And then also make sure you have your list, your missing accounts viewed. But that means that you can set the report up yourself, or make changes to a report maybe that BrainSell has created for you, and look at the different views for your financials. Now, in addition, we have the ability to drill into supporting data. So I've got a little bit of a focused, zoomed in report here. I've highlighted an actual year-to-date for the current period value. And if you right-click on the value, go to the very bottom of the right-click menu, click drill down, and what happens is it opens up a new sheet that has the drill balance, and you can further drill into the transactional area. So now you can look at the information, the data that makes up each of the values by drilling into it, all from the financial report designer. Okay, again, you can collaborate and share information. Use that auto distribute functionality to share information with different people. You can also drill in to see that supportive data securely. So if you're using the report manager, or there's another module I'm going to talk about in a minute, you can drill down and see some of that supportive information. But if you send the report, people who receive the report, that are sent the report, cannot see the drilled in information, which means that you'll have a little bit of security there from a data standpoint. And then finally, you do have the ability to connect to all Sage solution modules, as well as, very important here, you also have the ability to use Sage Intelligence to connect to other data sources. So if you have software that uses additional databases, you can make a connection to those databases and create Sage Intelligence reports from them. So that's where you can really get information from across your business using Sage Intelligence and really make more sound decisions from actual data. Okay, I'm going to move on and talk a little bit more about each individual Sage Intelligence component. So as I mentioned in an earlier slide, Report Manager is that interface that the people within your company would use, who wants to edit the reports, wants to manage the reports, wants to maybe even customize some of the reports and save the reports that they've customized. That's where all the properties are there to maybe enable who sees a report, okay? Or if a report has a filter on it or not. That's the Report Manager, where typically your report writer will sit. And you can have additional Report Manager users. So maybe you have 2 or 3 people who are working on reports. They can each have a Report Manager license. But if you have someone in your business that you want to be able to run a report out anytime they want, okay, give them the ability to run it out but not make changes, that's where you want the Report Viewer. Now the viewer is just a simple application. It's a simple module that'd be installed on the user's desktop along with Sage Intelligence in your Sage solution. And they would have the ability to view all the reports that you allow them to view, okay? You can set it up which reports they can see and which they cannot. And what happens is they can run the report out, but if they do anything to the report, like maybe they change the pivot table or add a title or something, they cannot save it. So they cannot mess up the Report Manager's report. They only view the report, but it's very important here. They have access to drill down. So they can click on any of the values and be able to drill down to supporting data. So that's where you get a little bit more security, because again, as I mentioned earlier, if you distribute a report, if you send a report to someone, that person will not be able to drill in to your transactional data, whereas someone with a Report Viewer license, Report Viewer on their system, can drill into that transactional data. So you have levels of control there for you, controlling your data. Okay, this next module is called the connector, and it enables you to first of all, use multi-company consolidation reports. So for example, if you have your financials and you want to see a side-by-side comparison of your financials, maybe your actual versus prior and a variance by company, you would need a connector to make those consolidated views, to look at the consolidated views. However, with that connector, you can also access additional databases. That's where I mentioned earlier, where you can access additional Sage modules, all right? Project, for example, if you happen to have a Sage project module, you can access that one, and you can create reports from it. And you can also access those databases that are outside of Sage. So if it's software that you're using that has databases that are ODBC compliant, that's just a general term that is used for connecting databases, you can connect to those outside of Sage. So it really includes that intelligent part of it. Therefore, you can report on information that's within Sage as well as outside of Sage. Okay, and the report designer allows those customized financial reports. I showed you a few screenshots earlier, and that's where we've already created some predefined layouts, or you can create them from scratch yourselves or make changes over time as you wish to see different views of your financial information. And then finally, and very simply, but very important, is the ability to track the licenses, but also track who can view and who has access to which reports. And that would be that Security Manager module. So those are just the 2 additional modules at the end. Okay, so I mentioned earlier those standard reports. Remember that list of standard reports that includes your sales report, your GL transaction detail, your purchase report, your inventory. We have the ability to access additional free pre-built reports. These are reports that we have built, Sage Intelligence have built, and you can download if you choose to. Now, it's called the report utility. The report utility is what we have available. You can download the report utility or download each report individually, either way. But if you go to sageintelligence.com, you'll see and go to resources. It's called resources and additional reports. This happens to be the page for 100, but the 300 and 500 look identical. You simply download the report utility right here. You can download the utility. This is what it'll look like on your desktop. I'm circling over here on the left. That's what it'll look like on your desktop. And you can either preview the report on our website by just opening up any of these sections. That we have quite a few sales reports, quite a few financial reports. You can see an example of them here. Or when you download the utility, click on this button or this icon on your desktop, and it lists all of the reports available. And we have reports across all modules that are relatively the same, but you can see quite a few financial reports. You can see here our ratio report. There's quite a few. And my next slide just shows a few examples. So here's our solvency and profitability ratio report that we have available for 100. We have one for 300 and 500 as well. We have quite a few reports, additional trial balances, some sales reports, even PowerView. Those of you on the line who are avid Excel users and you've used PowerView before, PowerView just really enables you to look at your data a little bit more graphically, like this one here. Feel free to download that report, and it'll use your Sage data and present it into a report that we've already created for you. Okay, let's get to that demonstration. So I'm going to wake up my image here and give the chance for it to settle on your screens. What you're seeing now, this happens to be 100, but it is almost identical across each of the Sage systems. Report Manager is what you will start with. Again, that's for the person that's going to be responsible for managing these reports, and this is where the person can make any changes to the reports that they'd like. So you'll see here on the left-hand side all of our folders. Okay, and the folders are here where I can just click on the folder and I can see reports available. So here's our dashboard report. We have a few financials. Okay, so this is there's that financial report designer. Here's the trend analysis report, the GL transaction report here. We have an inventory report. We have a purchase section, sales, and you'll see that there's an extra folder here called My Reports. It's one I created. So know that you can create, excuse me, it's not a report, it's a folder. Know that you can create any folder here and better organize your reports. For example, if you see a couple of these say copy of, and that's just to demonstrate that when I click on this financial trend analysis, it says I can run this report out right now, but to edit it, I'd need to make a copy, and it's so easy. I just go to the ribbon, I make a copy, okay, I highlight the folder I want to enter, add it to, and then paste, and that's what I've done here. So when I click on the report, it opens up a little bit more, and now you'll see that since I'm a report manager user, I have access to more information about the report. For example, I can see the columns that are included in the report. I can see any filters or add any filters that I want to with the report. Same thing with the parameters. This is a standard report that we've built that I've just made a copy of. You can see where we've added a parameter here. Parameter is just a filter that the user invokes when they run the report, and so on. So there's lots of properties that can be managed for these particular reports. Now, what I'm going to do is I've gone ahead and I've run out the financial report designer report here. So here's my financial report designer. I've actually got a copy of it right here. So it also opens up to the properties window. I just select run and it opens into Microsoft Excel. I can run out one of the other ones in just a minute, but I wanted to focus on the financials for you because typically we see people that want to see the financials first. So this is a copy of the Financial Report Designer. Now, remember in the presentation, I said that was a module. Well, the module means it gives you this report plus the task pane and all the added feature functionality of Sage Intelligence. So you see this task pane over the right, I can make it smaller or bigger. And there's those tabs, all right, that I showed you in the presentation previously. Now it opens up to this home. I'm down here on the bottom left, this home tab, where you just have access to some links to our website. That's all this is, all right? And since this was run from Report Manager, remember, I can change this. I can delete this home page if I want or hide it if I want. There's also an instruction page. Again, I can delete or hide this page because I'm in Excel. And once I delete or hide either of these pages, I can save it in Report Manager and it won't be visible because this is an instruction page that maybe you use once or twice and then maybe you don't want further. Let's go ahead and take a look now at how to use the task pane. So over here on the right, I'm in the Layouts tab. And you see I have a list of layouts that we've built. Okay, so if I want to click on Balance Sheet, for example, it's just one click. What's happening is it generates a layout that we've already built, but it populates it with my data from my Sage 100 system. So once it generates, then I can look at my data. And all I need to do is run the report and generate this layout each time. Or I can run the report, I can generate the layout, and I can save this report to Report Manager, and the layout will always be generated. I don't have to regenerate it. This is a message that just says it's generated successfully. I have information in the latter years here. It just happens to be my system, okay? But let's say I want to look at some information, some additional information. It's dynamic. I can type in 2020, and now I get data across the board from my period one all the way through the end of the year. I happen to not have but half a year's information in my 2019 year. Okay, so there you can see my closing balance, and I don't really have a lot of information on my prior closing. I think I have it, yeah, more towards the end of the year. So now I can see my closing and my prior closing totals. But notice they're totals. So if I want to see the detail associated, I just click on the 2 over here in our grouping, and there's that detail of all of from my totals to the account details. So we've already grouped it for you. We've already set up the balance sheet, according to the way that we've set it up, but you can make any changes you'd like. And remember, for those users who are using Report Manager or Viewer, they can highlight a value, right click, and drill into the supporting information. See where it's opening up the drill balance in a separate sheet, just as I showed you in the presentation. Drill again into the transactional. It just opens up the drill. Well, that one doesn't have additional information, but I could drill into the transaction level if I'd like for any of these values. And I'm just deleting the sheets because I don't want to save them that way. Okay, so you can right click and drill in. And notice we also have reporting tree unit over here. It's another option. I'm going to go ahead and click on the 2, so bring up all my totals again. Oops, sorry, click 1 for all my totals. Now if I want to see my trees, I'm going to come back to the task pane. I'm going to click on my tree tab. I have several different trees set up. So if you segment your accounts, maybe you segment your accounts by region or by company or by product or something like that, that's okay. You can drag the information over for each region or product or department that you would like to see. So for example, if I'm going to click on my cities, open those up. If I want to see all the values for Atlanta, I just drag them into this cell and it changes all of my values right before my eyes for Atlanta. I can do the same thing for New York. So gone are the days of having, 20 different sheets down at the bottom here, one for each city. You could still do that, but this enables your user to really see the information quickly and without having to pick through from sheet to sheet to sheet. Okay, but know that you can still see them side by side. You can enable the reporting tree unit to be in a specific cell, or you can even have it viewed by column. You can have Irvine in one column, Atlanta in another column, and drag and drop that way as well. If I want to make any changes to this particular report, I'm going to go back up. So again, we're using these layouts. Okay, I can either do it right from Excel or click on this BI Tools tab and you'll see the tools on the left-hand side here where I can edit. So I'm going to click on the edit. There's that list of all those layouts that we have over here, right? Okay, so if I want to edit this particular one, I can just select balance sheet. It pulls up my layout generator interface, and this is where I can make any changes I'd like to an existing layout. Now, probably you want to start with scratch. You can start where you can open the layout generator where there's no columns and no rows, and just play with it on your own and start from scratch. But just to show you, you can click on any of these, right click to remove them. All right, I'm in the columns section, so I'm removing, let's say I remove the closing and prior closing, or the closing balances. If I scroll down, I just removed one. Okay, now I can remove the two, so you see them going from dark blue to light blue. But so it's a point and click system, very, very easy. There's my columns, here's my calculations I can add. We've already got all these calculations. It's point and click, set up and go. So I can set up my columns, here's my rows, so you can see all of the rows that I'm using. I'm using my assets, liability, and equity, and then a couple of the calculation rows here, my retained earnings, and so forth. So it's very easy, it's point and click, but I do want to point out this row sets at the very top. Click on row sets, that we have some already built, but I just want to show you, I'll show you the income statement one. If I click on that and edit, for example, you can have as many as you'd like, but here's where you can use any rule. You can set up your account by account group, your account category, and you just set the rule up and you'll see the preview window. So what this means to you is you have the opportunity to set up as many of these row sets as you'd like. And we just have 4. You can add more of your own, and then each layout design you can change simply by clicking on this magnifying glass and change any of those row sets. So no longer do you have to cut and paste every single month to see all of your different row sets. They're all set up now. You just point and click and use the row set that you wish. When you're satisfied with how your report looks, you can simply generate. Sorry, I have to go to my options and I have to tell it which company. And here's where you can change the year, the period, or excuse me, the year, the company, the budget code, and then I can generate that report. So that's how easy it is to make changes to a particular layout. You can also create a layout using the layout generator from scratch, point and click on whatever you want to see. So it's for those people who aren't really huge Excel users. They just like the point and click, and it's very easy to do. And any new ones that you create will be listed over here along with the rest of them that we've built. Okay, so that's generated. So remember, I removed 1 and part of 2, and there it is. It's showing exactly what I changed. Okay, now that's using the layout generator, but I'm going to show you something that enables you to create a report, a financial report, using the task pane, where you can have really full control over all of your data. So I'm going to start at the bottom here. I'm going to get this plus sign to add a new sheet. All right, this is Excel. So there's my new sheet. And what I'm going to do is, wow, it's blank. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to start with the formula. And this is something BrainSell can help you with or do for you, but I just wanted to show you how the system works just at a high level overview. So if I start with my formulas, and let's say I want a report that enables me to open the report every time with the current year and current period. I always want my report to open up with the current year and current period. There's my formulas that I'm going to include in my value formula. And so the next thing I need accounts, right? Well, that's in the lists. So I'll go over here and I'll find my list. This shows me which company I'm in. I'll drag my list over. In this case, I'm going to drag over my main accounts. Again, the only difference for each of these Sage solutions are the lists and account numbers are going to look different, right? And descriptions and so forth. So I'm going to use this list. I don't need all of these columns, so I'll remove these. But I'm going to use my main account number, my description, and I could use my account category as well. Let's say I'm just going to do a simple P&L or a simple income statement. What I want to do is, first of all, I want to add a formula. So I'll come over here to my formulas tab. I'll grab the actual formula, plop it in. And you see it's starting in the formula bar. Those of you familiar with Excel know that if you click on this FX button, it opens up. Opens up the function argument window. It's your formula builder, and Sage Intelligence has made it easy for you to be able to create your formula, but very robust so that you can have different views showing. So, for example, in this case, I'm using my main account number. So I'm going to start in this first field, and I'm going to reference the column. And remember, I want it always to reference the current year and the current period. So I'm just going to reference these cells. I can hide these cells if I wish. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I could scroll down, and if I even want to drill in, if I really want to show maybe according to account category code or the group code, I can also use those within this formula as well. The reporting tree path, in this case, I'm going to put it at the top here, and I'm going to select OK. So here's my formula. Let's see, Excel is, I think that's, okay. I think I might be getting some, there we go. I think there's a bit of delay because of using the GoToMeeting, but here we are, we have our value. If I double click on that plus sign, I just need to change my year. I'll get my values. Look at that, there's my values. All of my values for all of my main accounts and shown there, okay? Now what I want to do, if I'm just going to do a simple income statement, is I'm going to remove my balance sheet accounts. So there's my assets, liabilities, all the way down to even my equity, because I want to start with my revenue, right, for my income statement. So I'm going to delete my balance sheet accounts, and I'm just going to start with my revenue here. And now I have all of my revenue, but if I want, they come in as credits, but I can multiply by -1 to make it show appropriately. Just copy that formula down. Everything else should be all right. So now I'm starting my report. So it's not really formatted. This is kind of raw, if you will. If I wanted to clean up, that's where I'd use a lot of my Excel skills. So let's say, for example, I'm going to add I want some totals. I'm going to use a Sage Intelligence range to show my totals. So there's my 40,000 space, TO space. I'm going to go all the way down to 45. So I'm going to use a total for my revenue. There's my range for my total. For my revenue, I just copy up the formula. There's my total. And I can, I can use the same description. I can type it in either one of these columns, and then further I can use my Excel skills to group. So I just highlight the rest of my revenue lines, go up to data, group. Some of you know how to do this, some of you this might be new. So now I've grouped the detail behind that total here for my revenue behind this range. I can do the same thing from my cost of sales, my expenses. I can keep going down and adding my ranges, 50,000 to 58.5, and then adding my, copying everything up and adding my groups. So this isn't really an Excel webcast, although we have tips on that for you. But now you can use your Excel skills to further refine the look of your, there we go, we've grouped that, the look of your report. So from here, I can, use exclusions if I want to have a range. I can subtract a specific account out and get the value I want. I can add, this is my cost of goods sales. I can now, for any of my, say I wanted to see my gross profit, that's an Excel formula. So I can sit here and add, let's see. Sorry, I'll just add a formula here. I can further, summarize or for my gross profit, subtract my cost of goods sales from my revenue, and there's my gross profit. So you can go on and continue to make the report look exactly as you want, but the point being that you can really customize the report. BrainSell, of course, will be there to help you customize any of your reports if you want to make any changes or if you want to see a different types of layouts. And again, even here, you can take this information, and if you want to add a chart to any of this, so for example, here's any of my recommended charts, here's a chart right there. That's how easy it is if you want to compare your revenue, your cost of goods, and your gross profit graphically. Remember, the point being, this is Microsoft Excel. You can use the power of Sage Intelligence and Microsoft Excel together to create that report that you need. So further, I'm going to just minimize this report because I promised to show some of the others. So for example, if you carry an inventory, here's one I haven't copied. So I can just simply run the report out and view my inventory in a report. All of these reports look relatively the same structure. They're all pivot tables, the inventory, the purchase report, sales report, but I can run those out just to see my numbers. If I want to make any changes to the report again, I would make a copy of that report first, and then I would run it out to Microsoft Excel, and I would make any changes to that report, that I wanted to. What changes can you make? Gosh, anything. You can change the view of your pivot table. You can create additional filters for your pivot table. You can create charts for your pivot table. There's so many different things that you can do with these Sage Intelligence reports. Okay, I've got a lot open right now with the GoToMeeting and PowerPoint and all of this, so it's taken I have only so much memory there, so it's taken just a little bit of time to open, and here we go.
No problem, Sandra. You're doing great.
Great, thank you. Okay, so there we are. We have our inventory status report. Again, there's that home page. Again, if I had made a copy, I could change any of this. Like I could hide that home tab and just stick to my report here. Now, as a user, I can go in and click within my pivot table, so I can see all of the things the columns that we've built for the standard report. But I could click within that pivot table, click on Analyze, get that field list. Very easy. Click Analyze and Field List, and there it is. Now, if I want to see something different, I can. So if I want to see the product type, I just click on that box, and there's my product type. If I want to click on something else. Now you do need to add the coloring to it. This just shows you the difference, that is a new one that's added. If I want to add company name or company code name or anything like that, I can change the view of this pivot table. Now remember, again, had I made a copy, I'd be able to go back to Report Manager and save my changes. So that's where the value comes in when you want to make a change to any of these reports. Because if I wanted these two fields, I save the changes in Report Manager. Every time I open the report, I would see the changes. And the difference too is you can, you know, any of your users using Viewer will see those changes once they run the report. Okay, finally, I just want to touch on our distribution tools. I'm going to click on my BI Tools tab, and in all of the reports, you have the ability to set up your instructions and send them off. So here is, I just clicked on the BI Tools tab and the Manage Instruction button. It opens up my window to create or manage my distribution instructions. I have 3 here. You can have as many as you'd like. So I just created one for my financial group, one for my marketing people, one for my sales team, and all the reports share all the distribution instructions. So this is inventory, so I can create a new one. So I can add, and I'll say for my inventory, my warehouse group, you know, whatever I'd like. Again, this could be for all of them. It opens up my instruction. And now I can select and create an email for all users so that I can send this as an Excel workbook. Notice I can send it as if I click this drop down a PDF, I can send them as an HTML to a website, lots of options there. If I prefer, I could click on File Publish, I can send it to a file or an FTP site. So you have a choice, and you also can set it up so that any of these, either the email or sent to a file, is all done automatically. You can set it up so that you can send it, you know, every day the same time, every week the same time. It's very flexible and very powerful. All right, so if I go back to Report Manager, so check out, have BrainSell help you activate your Report Manager. Every Sage solution has at least one. Now, those of you on the line that have 500, you'll have 4 free Report Manager licenses. That means 4 people can run Report Manager. 100 and 300 will have 1 apiece. And what that means is you can activate it and you can run out any of these standard reports. Now you will need the module for report designers, so check with Kelly and her team on getting that financial report designer for your financials. But you can run any of the reports out and they'll open up using your data from your Sage solution. Okay, I'll go back to the presentation and just show you a few more links for more information. Very important, brainsell.net. There's Kelly's email if you want to reach out to Kelly. You can also go to youtube.com/Sage Intelligence. We have so many videos out there, short videos that are about maybe 1 to 2 minutes, and long webcasts, very detailed webcasts on Sage Intelligence if you want to go out there. I'm going to leave this slide up. There's one more, but I'm going to leave this slide up for just a minute so that you can jot down Kelly's number and extension and contact her for more information. Before we go to questions, there's one more that I'll leave up while we're answering questions there. Okay, so now if you'd like, Kelly, if there are any questions, I don't know that I can see them.
Yeah, actually, we had one question that was sent to me offline, and Susan was wondering if it is indeed just strictly Excel-based that this reporting is, or if it's also possible to import reports that are created in something like Google Drive.
Oh, great question. You know what? It is just Excel. So we have reports that are built on Excel, but now you can send the Sage Intelligence reports to Google Drive. So that's you know one thing you can do, but it is just Excel based right now today. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions right now, but we'll give folks just another minute. And all right, well, I think we're good. Everybody that attended, please know I'll be reaching out to you directly over the next day or so just to check in and answer any questions that you may think of between now and then. And because we recorded the webinar, we'll also be sending out a copy of the recording to you. And so I look forward to following up with everybody. Sandra, thank you so much for doing such a wonderful job and showing us all there is to know about Sage Intelligence Reporting. It's a really excellent tool, and so thank you so much for showing us the value that it can provide to businesses. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Folks, we're going to go ahead and sign off, and like I said, I'll be in touch over the next couple of days to follow up with everybody that attended. So once again, thank you all, and Sandra, thank you once again so much for your wonderful work here.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.